Hi there, it's Sarah Manili from Pivot Up, helping you win at business without losing yourself. This week I had the honor of interviewing Patricia Lohan, who I met in Bali about a year ago when I was traveling there. And Patricia is an entrepreneur, and she was hosting an entrepreneur for women strategy session for the year. And I was lucky enough to get an invitation. And so I met Patricia through that meeting, and we've kept in touch since then. And Patricia is a feng shui master, and she helps women and people improve their life and their business through feng shui. And she does this all while living with her husband in Bali, across the world. So originally from Ireland, she has tons of experience as an entrepreneur. So I was thrilled to be able to talk to her about her journey as an entrepreneur, what she's up to now, and some of the lessons she's learned along the way. So sit back, relax, and take it all in. So hi, Patricia Lohan. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. Now, we are 13 hours apart, so it's actually 6:30 in the morning and it's 5:30 at night here. And you are in Bali right now.
I am in Bali right now. Yeah, we've been here for nearly 2 years now. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And we met actually in Bali a year ago.
That's right. I would say nearly to the day.
Pretty much to the day. And we met actually to plan our business for 2017. And I know you had,
for sure.
Yeah, you had been telling me a bit about your business and what you're doing now, but it's been a journey. So talk to me. So just let's start there. Like, where do you come from? Because you're not from Bali.
No. So I'm from Ireland. I'm from the west coast of Ireland. I'm from Galway, a town by the sea. And I've been an entrepreneur pretty much since I was about 12.
Oh my goodness.
I've always been like wheeler dealer, little into something. I grew up into a house that was an entrepreneur's home. My parents have had many businesses, mostly in hospitality, so we were always around people. So we're a real people person and a total extrovert, and it was kind of comes natural to me. So I think that like when I was a kid, when I grew up, I knew I would have my own business. Like I just knew that. It wasn't kind of like, would I work in a normal job 9 to 5? And I did try that because I was like, well, maybe I want to be like normal for a while. But actually that doesn't suit me, and putting me into a little box like that kind of was counterproductive basically.
Okay, that's so interesting, because most of the people I talk to, they don't start off as an entrepreneur. They don't start off knowing that. So even though you knew you would be an entrepreneur, what was the 9 to 5? What was the regular, the normal? So talk to me about that journey.
So I suppose my parents didn't come from like an didn't really have a full proper education. And when I was growing up, we went to school and we got pretty good grades, which was great. And my parents were excited that we were even at school basically. And then everyone in our time, like it was kind of the whole era of like everyone was then going to university. And like in my family, like my parents had never been to university, so they were like, oh my god, they're going to university, this is amazing, it's like celebration. So it was like I was doing things that were like not normal, like in our family. And both of my sisters also followed suit, but we were kind of following along with like what was going on for everyone else around us.
So what did you study?
I studied business studies. I studied business studies and marketing. And it's quite an interesting one because when I was first looked at university, I was interested in like psychology and arts, but everyone was like, you'll never get a job with an arts degree, blah 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 blah, and like a business degree is so much more like practical. And I find that really interesting because like the 16-year-old me was like interested in the mind and interested in like philosophy and psychology, and like that's exactly what I pretty much do now, and I'm fascinated by. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It was kind of this crazy detour. But business studies was the kind of course of action. Now, my parents were not like trained, like, they just ran a business and they learned on the go with it. Yeah. And I think that's what was different was when I went into university and was studying the books and kind of, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it. Yeah. But I feel like that's one of the things that I kind of got from then is like, there's no real rules when it comes to business. If you're showing up as a good person and you're really just, doing your best and being a good person. I think that was like one of the really good parts of my parents really cared about their customers and their clients and wanted really positive outcomes and success for everybody. So, and wanted everyone to be happy. So that was like a huge thing, like that, the fundamentals of business is like customer service. And I just grew up with that innately. So it was a really nice, like, interesting process of like, you're sitting like learning about customer service in a book, but actually it's the practical, like the real life, like this is what it really looks like. So I studied business studies, and then I actually went into like learning about accountancy, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to be real practical and go get a job in marketing. And so I was doing accountancy and I hated it. Like, oh my God, I was like, I hate this. And it was kind of like, why am I doing this? Like, because someone said it was a sensible thing to do.
Right.
Like, don't listen to sensible things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the sensible thing. And, it's quite interesting now that like really I then like literally went back a year in college and started and went back to marketing. And that's something that I really am passionate about. And I feel like marketing is really just the baseline for every business, to like get yourself out there and to be able to tell people about what you do and share it in ingenious ways and fun ways and how you express yourself. So that was really great foundation. And I ended up traveling a lot. That was one of my how we kind of ended up in Bali was like, I just loved living in Asia. So as part of my course, my degree, I ended up living in the Philippines. I worked for a finance company there. I lived in Japan. I worked for a timber company doing like business development. So I lived in France. And these countries just like really, I just loved Asia. So they were great experiences working in these companies, but I was like, I'm not really sure if I want to work in like an office. And it was like having a boss, my second grade, I think because I'm in Ireland, we didn't have grades, it was different, we call them classes. But my second grade, pretty much grade teacher said, Patricia does not like being told what to do. So it was like from back then, it was like no boss, that's not a good idea.
I love that we always get clues along the way of what we should be doing. And we just ignore them half the time. We just ignore them. Yeah.
We totally ignore it, And I think that's part of the journey. If I hadn't studied that marketing and I hadn't gone to these different countries and experienced different things, I wouldn't have been like, I don't want to work in a box. I don't want a boss. And at that same time, my dad had retired. My parents had both retired and decided that they were going to just like sit back and do nothing. But for people who have been entrepreneurs for their entire life, like sitting back and doing nothing and walking the dog is not an enjoyable process. Like, he was just going nuts. So he went walking the dog one day and ended up buying a bar and restaurant, this huge big premises. And came back and he was like, oh, I bought this place today. And we were like, you did what? So while I was in Japan, that all went down. And then I came back and I'm like, hey, I'll help you. Like, I'll run the business. Like, I had never run a business in my whole life. I was 22 at that stage. And we had like, basically he built this premises and my mum was like, we can't open it like this, it's filthy dirty. Basically it was filthy dirty. It was just it was just a total just derelict building. So it was knocked down, built from the ground up, like we totally demolished, built up. So we opened and I was there with my dad, like on the foundations being poured and all of the stuff. We started a new business, which was a bar and restaurant and off license. It opened when I was about 24. I had like 30 staff. I had never run a business before. It was the steepest learning curve of my entire life. Like, I had worked as a waitress and I'd ran like the business, helped my dad, like my parents, but I'd never done this before. So it was a bit crazy. For those years, we had a really busy place as well. So I remember the first day, and my sister worked with me at the time as well, and we were like setting up the restaurant and setting everything up, and we're like, do you think we'll get any customers? Like, do you think we'll get any customers? Like, my parents, like, millions have been invested. Do you think we'll get any customers?
You're just like crossing your fingers, hoping people come.
Seriously, seriously, that was it. And I totally remember our very first customer. And from that day on, we had a really successful business for many, many years. But the thing with that is that, and that was a huge, great experiment, because like basically I had this business was running, but I kind of got to do whatever I wanted. So I ran events in it. I had great fun. I got really big into the marketing and the PR. Like that was my big part. Like kind of putting something out there was my big thing, and it worked.
Who gets that opportunity at 24? That's incredible.
I know, and like our business won like awards, like national awards. We were always recommended for amazing food, for great like just, and I feel like that's when you do something with passion, like with that passion, when you're really passionate about something, and you believe in it, it's really easy to do it, and you know it's really easy to do the business, to be in business, to help your clients, to work with your customers, whatever their clients are, whatever's going on. But, you know, I was really young at the time, super naive, I had no idea really what I was doing. But, you know, it worked out, which was amazing. You know, we did, like, we were probably a 7-figure business within, you know, a year or so, like, which was incredible, like, revenue, like, turnover, and it was busy. So it was busy, basically. But at the same time, a lot of things were happening for me because I was going through a big, huge personal transition in my life as well. So during that time, I was working really, really hard, like 17-hour days. I was going through a lot. I didn't know what I really wanted in my life, and kind of ended up sitting in front of a life coach, like crying, and left my relationship, and everything kind of just like fell apart, basically, in my personal life. But in my actual aesthetic life, people could see this like really successful female entrepreneur. I had like designer car, designer clothes, designer handbags, a gorgeous little BMW. I eventually got my apartment that was like a sea view apartment because the premises was like on the ocean. Wow. And I had a sea view apartment. Like everything just looked amazing. But like I cried every Friday. Like it was like Friday in my relationship.
I'm getting goosebumps right now because I hear this all the time. It's when all the external seems to be like, you know, shiny and glossy and everything's okay from the outside. And that's usually when things are crumbling on the inside. And that's when we make major shifts.
Yeah, for sure. And like really a lot of things started to happen at that time. So I was introduced to meditation. One of my customers, like, so basically my life coach was one of our customers. My my yoga teacher was one of our customers. Like basically all the people came to me in the restaurant.
Amazing.
So it was like absolutely nuts. One of my meditation teachers was one of our customers. Like it was, people started coming and I would have these conversations, because the best part about working in hospitality is you just get to know loads of people. And they come in, you get to know them, you build relationships. And it's just all about building relationships. Like that is the biggest part, you know, it's just like building relationships. So we had, like, these people started coming into my life, and I was really getting into a lot of like personal development books, and I was in a mastermind and lots of cool things. And it was, but at the same time I was pretty miserable, and I was really like binge drinking a lot, and you know, I was having all this like spiritual stuff going on, but at the same time my life was like really rack and ruin. And that really kind of got to a point where my parents went to Australia to visit my sister. My sister had been living there with her partner, and she was super happy, and everyone was like, oh my God, it must be so sad saying goodbye to Nicola. Like, she's over in Australia. My mom was like, no, like, Nicola is so happy. Like, I'm happy. Like, all I want is for my children to be happy. And I think that her saying that, she just kind of like, it kind of dawned on her, and she saw me. And she was like, oh my God, Patricia is like not happy at all. And I was like, I used to wear black every day. And we've met in person. Like I usually have, like this is probably, me wearing a plain t-shirt is even pretty unusual. Like I'm usually wearing something like pink or purple or orange, like bright colors. Like I am pretty much like a rainbow child. And I literally was wearing black every day. It felt like I really kind of like lost the passion, lost the drive, lost the enthusiasm for the business. And just because, you know, I knew like my soul was calling for something else. Like my soul was really saying like, there's more to you. You are not going to be in here. So my mom kind of saw that going on with me. And I remember sitting with my dad one day and having this chat saying, you know, like, is this it? You know, is this it in this box? You know, and my dad was like, what else do you want? Like, isn't it great? And honestly, I was like, because like everything was in this square box, and I am used to travel and adventure, and you know, I just kind of, for a certain length of time in the business, I entertained myself. Like I should have been fired very much sooner than I left, because I just didn't really care anymore. I really lost that passion for it. And I think that was like a huge sign as well. It's like if you're not there, if your passion isn't in it, you can't like maintain a business. You can't keep it going. And there was a lot of other, thankfully there's another team of people who are equally passionate though about it. So
which is amazing.
It wasn't just down to me. Yeah.
And I hear that a lot actually, especially female entrepreneurs with physical space. Even if they are passionate about it, it's draining. To have to be at that space, and you're responsible for it 24/7, like that just adds the pressure to everything else going on. So I can only imagine what you were going through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had that thing, and my mom came home, and they both came home from Australia. They saw me, and my mom said to me, "I think you need to leave Lohan's," and I was like, ah. And I didn't go like that. I was like, ah, I'm going to India to become a yoga teacher. And it was like, it came out of my mouth sooner than I could ever have imagined. Like, it just flew out of my mouth. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to India to become a yoga teacher. Like, I had been thinking about doing it, but I hadn't been like, I am going to India to become a yoga teacher. Like, I'm going to do this. So, yeah, I ended up like, crazy things happened. Like, I wrote off my car. I had to get rid of everything. Like, I got rid of everything. I decluttered my whole life. Like, 42 pairs of shoes, like 15 black bags of clothes, like everything. I literally just like got rid of everything. At that stage, I'd kind of let go of the relationship a few years earlier. I let go of everything, and I got a rucksack and I went to India. And I thought I was going to India for like a month to the ashram and just to do some stuff.
To learn
like
yoga.
I wasn't really sure. I really was loose. And I had a year long. I had bought a ticket to go around the world and visit all these different countries and visit here and here and here and here. And I got to India, and I was there for over a year. Like, I basically ended up having a huge spiritual awakening, awakening all these intuitive gifts, this healing modalities, training as a sound therapist, and everything that I trained in, like, so I became a Reiki master. Everything I trained in was because it benefited me. So at that same time, while I was in Ireland, I'd been going for different kind of therapies and just trying out the waters and doing things differently. So I did 2 different yoga teacher trainings. I traveled all over India. I met lots of different amazing teachers. And one day I came out of meditation and I was like, I'm going to go to Nepal. And I was like, okay, like that wasn't on my round the world ticket thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to Nepal. So I decided to go to Nepal, and like a busy person who really has to have a reason to go somewhere, I decided I was going to volunteer in Nepal with an Irish charity. So I got to Nepal. I started training to be able to teach English to teachers in Nepal in the mountains. And every day I was so miserable there, and I was like, I've been called here. I knew my energy was like going to Nepal. And I was so miserable. Oh my God, every day I was like, what am I doing? I just want to be back in the ashram. I was so happy there, chanting and doing yoga. Like, life was great in the ashram or down in Rishikesh, going to great yoga, eating amazing food, meeting cool people. I'm here in Kathmandu going, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? And this constant question every day. And finally I realized, I was like, okay, this lifestyle is not what I'm used to here in Kathmandu. And I was like, I need to find some more yoga. So I went back online, Google, and searched for yoga teachers. And I came across this guy who taught yoga. He'd gone to the same ashram as me. He is a Reiki master. So we had a lot of synergies. And I was like, wow, we're like that. Oh, we just even need to meet. And he also taught sound healing with Tibetan singing bowls. And I was like, oh, I did ask about them. So like rewind 6 months earlier, like when I was in the ashram and I was out for a day with my friends and I had seen these singing bowls and I'm like, oh, singing bowl. Oh, and my friends were all excited. They're quite expensive. And I was like, if I was to buy one of those, I'd need to know more. And I put it on the shelf. And I went, I did ask. When I came across this guy and I went, okay, and I basically signed up for his course there and then. I have never experienced a healing session with Tibetan bowls, let alone even hearing one. I just signed up. I was like, I know I need to do this. I asked. So I went to his training. I did the training. It was unbelievably transformational. Like, I just love sound and sound healing. And it was just something that I definitely had done in a past life or something. It was like, it just came. And he was like, okay, you've got this, you know. And how synchronistic things happen. I finished the course. The next day I was in a cafe in Kathmandu. I was talking to this French man. I said to him, like, what do you do? He said, oh, I'm a sound healer with Tibetan singing bowls. And I was like, wow, I just trained in that. Like, I just finished my training. And he was like, have you bought your singing bowls? I said, not yet. So I had bought, like, I was going to buy just the bowls for me. Because I was like, I'm just going to have them for me. I'm not, this isn't going to be like my career or anything. I'm just like, just whatever happens. And he said to me, come with me tomorrow and I'll show you where I get my singing bowls. I was like, okay, innocent enough. Go to the shop the next day. He walks me into the shop and he goes, this is Patricia. She's from Ireland. She is bringing sound healing to Ireland.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, okay, give her my wholesale prices. And I was like, okay. So I started buying singing bowls. I maxed out my credit card on singing bowls. I had no idea what I was doing. Shipped all these singing bowls and this Buddhist art. That's another total weird story. But anyways, shipped all this art and bowls to Ireland. And my mum was like, what are you going to do with these fruit bowls? Because if you haven't seen them, they're like these metal bowls. Mm-hmm. They make a profound sound. They're amazing for transformation and healing. And I was like, I don't know. So I came back to Ireland and I had like a big debt. I had like my maxed out credit card and I had a lot of singing bowls, basically. And my mum was like, what are you going to do? And I woke up one morning and I'm like, I'm going to Dublin. So I went to Dublin, I moved cities. I sat around a table in a restaurant with my friends who lived in Dublin, about 4 of them. They're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I think I'll teach a bit of yoga. And like, I have my bowls and, I could do a bit of Reiki and, whatever. And they're like, where are you going to live? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll sort it out. And one girl goes, I have a single room in my house. You can have it. I was like, okay. The other girl goes, well, I have a bicycle. You can have my bicycle. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had a bicycle. I had somewhere to live. And I basically just started hustling. I had like 50 euros. And I kind of started like networking with people and doing little sound baths and bringing my bowls and bartering with a guy who had a yoga studio. So I ran his studio for a bit while I taught my classes.
And just a second
everything
here.
Kind of started to like,
Just a second. This was what year?
This was 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago.
Like had sound healing become a thing in Ireland at that point, or were you like had people heard about it?
There was about like 2 people, one person, not many people, nobody really doing it in Dublin, and I basically started it. Like people had never seen with a singing bowl. I had a stand, like, so, I took big risks with that journey, because it was like Mind Body Spirit Fair. And I remember like doing this like Groupon thing for yoga classes. And then I saw Mind Body Spirit coming up and I literally was like, this is the biggest kind of holistic fair in Ireland. Okay, I messaged the woman. I'm like, how much is the stand? And she's like, it's 500 euros. And I was like, okay. Like, I'm going to be there and I have these bowls and I have these blankets and I have this art, so fuck it, I'll just do it. So basically I just put all the money from that I'd made into paying for the stand. The stand then kind of paid for itself, but then it filled my classes. I started building an email list. I started going and doing talks. And it was just building relationships. Like that was like the foundation of the whole thing. I just like kept showing up at different things, holistic events, different events in Dublin. And like I basically became the singing bowl girl. Like I was in the national papers, I was on the radio. Like it wasn't like within a 2-year span, I had trained like 30 people in sound healing because people would come and be like, hey, I would do a gong bath and they'd be like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, I want to learn what you do. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then they're like, well, where do I get the bowls from? And I was like, well, the bowls are really crap. You can't get good ones here. And I'm like, so I would email my guy in Nepal and go, send me bowls. So then I was like exporting bowls. It was like this crazy business that started from like zilch.
And did you have a plan for all this, or it just kind of grew?
No.
Organically?
No plan. Like organically, because then people would come. Like it was a very organic process because obviously then I was working with people one-to-one, so I started holistic practice. So I had clients coming because I have like kinesiology and Reiki and all my sound work and lots of other mandala and sacred work that I do. And I was doing all that. So I had clients coming for that. And then one woman I met knew me and she was like, hey, I do this meditation circle. I've broken my wrist. I can't drive to it. Will you cover my classes? And it was a meditation circle and it was by donation. But it was right in the city centre every Tuesday. So I was doing her Tuesday gig for like 6 weeks. And then they were like, oh my God, everybody loves your bowls. Like, could you do Thursdays? And I was like, yeah, oh my God. And every time people would start coming on Thursdays to me, to that. And then someone at that said to me, wow, like I know a woman who works in a hospital with special needs. The adults in that special needs, they would love your work. Right. I'll connect you. So I went there and I was like, hey, I'll do a free session with the bowls the other thing. And they're like, oh my God, can you come every week? So I went to their house, their place every week. And then another girl, I was like, hey, I'm just like, she was like, oh my God, the children I work with would love what you do. And I was like, oh yeah, well, like I can. And then we just had this weird crossover because she's like, oh, my kids would love what you do. Yeah. And then I talked to her, and I met her one day and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm doing the sessions up in this place in the Lavin Road. It's amazing. She's like, that's where I work as well, but I work with the little kids. Come and do a session there. So I started working with kids with special needs and autism. So then I was working with the groups. I had these weekly sessions there, but then their parents or people would get word that I was doing that. Then they would send their clients, they would come one-to-one to me. It was just like, it all just unfolded, like the trainings, the bowls being sold, the workshops, the gong baths. And so it was, I think like that year, maybe it was like, I made like 50,000. And it started from like
scratch, from nothing.
You know what? From total scratch, absolutely scratch. And the interesting part about it was the fact that there wasn't really a plan, and I followed that work with it because we were working with powerful vibrations and energy, and from a place of passion and heart, it really just happened, you know. And I'm so passionate. When I find something that I'm passionate about, it's like, it's just, that's it. It's gonna be great, basically. Like, that's what I feel like about it, because I'm like, I just put all my energy into it. And that's what I did.
And that was 6 years ago, and that's not what you're doing now. So tell me, like, what you've made another shift since then, or a pivot, as I like to call it.
Yeah. So a pivot was really, what happened was, obviously, I met my husband, and we had our beautiful home, and I was like, business was going great, and I loved it. But I was in another box again, going, I've stuck myself in a box. I'm stuck here. What?
Because you're the sound lady. You're the sound bowl lady.
Business. Yeah. Well, and it wasn't necessarily the sound healing bit. It was the fact that my business was very bricks and mortar. You know, my clients came to see me in person. I did my trainings in person. And I have a really amazing friend for many years, 20 years. And she was killing it online. Like, she was just doing incredible work online. And I'm like, I want to do that. Yeah. So I developed an online program, which was for single women, because everyone kept asking me, like, how did you meet Ken? So I created this program, an online course, and that went good, but it was another very interesting one, because it was I feel like that course and that program and that developing that online thing was like my online course university. You know, I spent a lot of money in it. I invested a lot. I learned a lot. Doesn't mean it really reaped the rewards, but I learned like the foundations for what was going on. And Ken and I one day were like, we want to travel. We want to live in a different country. He'd never lived in a different country. I wanted to work and live in a hot country. So that was what kind of was the pivot to, we wanted to live in a different country. And I'm like, well, I can't do the sound stuff. I actually possibly could have. And I really, that was another part of the lesson, is like, I probably didn't need to throw the whole sound healing thing out the window. Because I literally, when we moved to Bali, started from complete scratch again. Apart from, I had like my list, like my people who had been following me for sound healing. But yeah, I was starting from completely from scratch, which is kind of mental. Again, but as I was doing my work with my healing modalities and all of that work, and we were talked about earlier about like our younger selves knows what our passions are. Because for Christmas, my 16th, I was about 16. So at 16, for Christmas, my Kris Kindle, I asked for books about feng shui. So I've been like a lifelong learner of feng shui, and I've like always been interested in it. And when I wanted to attract Ken into my life, I was like, I need to get my feng shui on. So that was kind of my passion. It was interesting because I was building this business with the sound healing, but my main focus was actually doing the inner work to attract my soulmate. So I wasn't that like focused on my business. It was just growing and doing its thing. But my main thing was like, I know I'm ready to meet the right person now, and I need to clear myself. I get myself ready, organize my environment. And it worked. Like within a few months, I met Ken, and I was like, oh, then we had our house and all this. And then I was like, okay, I want to do deeper. I want to do more. So something huge happened during this process because my clients were getting amazing, like great results, and they loved sound and they loved all the healing stuff, and they were doing incredible work. But when I embraced feng shui at a deeper level and trained, and Ken and I both trained in feng shui as consultants, it was like, oh my God, like they're doing all this inner work, but then they go home to this house that has all the old energy.
Right.
And your house is a mirror for you. Like it's a total mirror. And it was just this really fascinating kind of like, oh my God, this is it. The penny dropped. It was like, what the hell? Like before they do. So now it's like we're total role reversal. Now I work with clients one-to-one doing the inner work and clearing exactly what I used to do. But we have to feng shui their house first. So it's kind of like, I know that I need to have your environment right.
Right.
So when we moved to Bali, we were like, I kind of had a bit of an idea about online stuff. I was like, okay, let's start. And we started from scratch again. We had a small rental income from our house in Ireland. And we were just like scraping by going, we don't know what we're going to do. Ken had left his job that he'd been doing for like nearly 30 years. And we were like, okay, let's start again. And we just started. And people had been asking me about feng shui because I would be giving tips and stuff. So we created a really generic course about feng shui. And that was February 2016. So February 2016, we created this super generic little course, super on the cheap, like I just WordPress, password protected.
Yeah.
And just kind of shared it with the people that were on my list from my days in like Ireland.
Right.
And I had like a good, like I think the first time we had like 6 people. I was like, oh my God, like, great, like we've made some money.
People
and
like
it was
us.
amazing because it was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But the thing, what happened with that was this really interesting part was the clients that were coming needed more. So what people don't understand about feng shui is that it's not about like moving furniture and painting walls or throwing everything out. You know, it's about the energy of your home, and your home is unique. Every house is different. There's no two that are alike. They have completely specific energies, and that program was a generic program, and they needed more. They genuinely, oh thank you again. They genuinely needed the specifics. They needed to know why their house was bad, why they were struggling with money. And I would be like, yeah, because your house is bad for money and you can solve it this way.
Right.
Those clients were coming my way, but my course wasn't filling in the need as well. And that made me feel really bad. I was like, okay, I need to change this because this I have more that I can help them with. They need more. So the next round, we did a deeper round, and we helped people how to feng shui their houses distance. And we tried that out. And that's what we've been doing since. So I've been so we started with 6 people. The second time we've maybe like 10 people. Then we'd 17 people. Then this year we had 52 and then 60 something. So it's been like this massive trajectory because we were talking this time last year and I was making the videos and we were going to do the launch. And that's what happened this year. We launched 3 times. We've like grown it massively, so that's how I'm here with my entrepreneurial journey.
It's huge, and it's actually really interesting to hear you say that because I found the same thing with business coaching, is that I've created generic things, but I feel like I'm doing people a disservice. So actually the recent course I've created, there's a personal element to it where they get one-on-one coaching on top of the course, because people need everything every business is unique, just like every home is unique. So I love that you're able to incorporate the feng shui in a personalized manner, even within the course. It's awesome. It's awesome.
So, and it really does. I think this is there has been a whole era of like the passive course and no interaction. And it's like people need contact, like they need connection, they need that energy. And I've just been lucky enough to be in one or two really powerful communities for female entrepreneurs online as part of courses. And that is what we have been creating. Like I have a feng shui community of women who are doing the feng shui in their homes, and they are like ninjas. They are so supportive. If something happens in their life, or like one lady's son had an accident when they were on holidays, and it was like threads of like prayers and just like positive energy, and just so much support. It's a really, and I feel like, oh my God, this is amazing. So that has been a really interesting part. So we've kind of developed that, and then at the same time, the feng shui kind of was really the mainstay for ages. And then like there was a kind of like, I could feel this kind of knocking energetically on me going, you're not doing everything you're meant to be doing. And I was like, oh, okay. So the course has been running, and then I started doing some more intuitive business coaching and working with people just on the energy levels, like, so getting their house in order, getting themselves energetically aligned to attracting what it is, like really kind of like spiritual business coaching, which has been so much fun. Because that's really my main thing, is being like releasing the stuff, like the trauma and the anxiety and the stress and the blocks. That's what I did for so many years, but it kind of got a little put to the side. And now it's about that balance between both. So I have like group programs, and I have like and I have the feng shui thing. So it's super cool. Like it feels really surreal to be here. Like, I did not imagine when we met even a year ago, like how the business could grow. And
it's amazing.
It's been
mad. And it's a good good reminder for anyone watching or listening. It's a good reminder that so much can happen in a year. That you might be at the beginning stages, or just laying the foundation one year, and then the next year you're growing it to, you're growing it exponentially.
Yeah, for sure. Like if we think about that first program to the second time, like to this year, the first time we had 6 people, like it's 10 times. Like 60 people was the last one. It's like 10 times bigger. Yeah.
Okay, so what's been the biggest lesson in your career of entrepreneurship? What's the biggest lesson you've learned?
I feel like there's like several different threads, but one of them is just being of service, like being of that space of like, how can I help? Like, how can I help? And once you're just like showing up and helping, you're making a difference, So when you shift it into that energy and think about like the transformation and the good, that has been a really big part. And I think, and I grew that really came through from my parents as well. It's like they're just always like good people, helping people and wanting people to have a good time, with their like really great music or really great food, or like doing the best. Like that's one of the big parts for me. And then it's, well, I remember talking to a friend of mine and her husband, and when I moved to Dublin with these singing bowls, and telling them like, I'm going to do this stuff, I'm going to do the bowls, and like, he's an engineer and she's a school teacher. They have like normal jobs, like completely normal. And telling them when they were like, all right, okay. And about a year later, I was over visiting them, and he said, well, you stuck at it, and like it's this Irish way of saying like, you were persistent, and I think that's one of the traits that you just have to have persistence, and just keep showing up and keep, just trusting the process, especially when it was like so unknown. Like now I'm sitting and I'm just after being on a call, like, okay, we're going to plan out our year. And I'm like, okay, I can probably plan as far as June, and I know I'm going away and like, but this is like alien for me, or being so prepared in my business. Like we've just created the videos yesterday for launch in January. Like, I'm like, this is totally not how I used to do business. It was like on the fly. Okay, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. But that's really it. But it's that persistence and just always growing and learning. That was, I think, persistence is the one, because you could just give up, and then like, what's the point in that if you really believe in something?
And if it's coming from the heart, if it's coming from the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, what's been the most challenging? And I'm curious too, as you've shifted and pivoted, but also as an online business, what's been most challenging?
The most challenging part is that I used to think I had to do everything myself. And I suppose like in the restaurant, obviously I couldn't cook the food, or I couldn't, and that was, that was a very, that wasn't my role in the restaurant. So, but when it came to really going out on my own, I really thought I had to do everything myself. And, I have to carry all the bowls, I have to do all the emails, I have to do every single thing. And this, like literally this month has been a huge month for just embracing more support and finding really good people to do stuff that they're really good at. Like, so I have this great opportunity for this article. This magazine have asked me to write an article for them about feng shui, and I was like, oh yeah, great, this is amazing. I've been putting it on the long finger for months because that's not my forte, and I really want to get the right message across, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. So the other day I went, why is this still on my desk as something for me to do, and why haven't we started? And I'm like, oh my God, I have an amazing woman who I've been working with who can help me. And I just like, hey, you know, do you do my copy stuff and you totally understand everything now you help me with? Do you do these article things? She's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my
outsource.
God, well, that job is going to get done.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, outsourcing has been a huge part. And not having to do everything. Like, so I have been outsourcing. I've had an assistant for, like, before I even had clients, I had an assistant kind of with the online stuff because I wasn't technical at all, but I was trying to be. So that's a big part. With the struggle was the kind of that like letting go of some parts of the business to somebody else. And now I've done it. I'm kind of like here, offload, and I'm just sitting back going, oh, okay.
How little can I do? Yeah, how little can I do and still have a functioning business? Yeah. So one of the things I noticed, and you touched on it earlier when you were talking about, you know, being 24, running the 7-figure bar and restaurant business, you know, 7-figure revenue, and you had the shoes and the bag and the clothes. And one of the themes I see with women, especially women entrepreneurs, is our goals, or let's say our definition of success changes over time. So how has your definition of success changed over time? How has it evolved over time? And what is it now?
You know, I feel like I'm already successful in many ways, as in like now, which is in the past I would never have like owned that. I'd be like, oh no, I still need to do this and this and this and this. But the fact that we live here in Bali and I have an incredible relationship, and you know, we can literally just go off. We were at a silent retreat at the weekend, or I can go to fly and be Christmas with my family in Australia, and like that really feels really good, you know. And it's interesting because I still like really nice things. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to lose that. But I had to let go of it for a while to be able to come back and be like, well, I really like really nice things just because I really love that. And it doesn't necessarily need to be expensive. It's just like, I love that. Right. I want that.
Right.
And it's not about the kind of like, look at my new designer bag. It's like, I've been looking for a bag for ages, and I've been like looking for this one time. I know exactly in my mind what I'm looking for, and I don't really care what brand or what it is. I'm seeing one and I'm like, that's the one I want. That's what I like. That's right. It. So it's from that energy as opposed to like everything to be like flashy. It's less about that. It's more about sparking joy. So and that sense of freedom. Like obviously the business has grown a lot, and getting more organized has been one of the things, because I'm such a flow person that like getting more structured has been one of the things that's like, oh, I need to learn to do this a bit more. But success is that sense of freedom to be able to like, oh, right, okay, well, we're going to go on holidays here. We're going to do like, let's do these things, and having the freedom and the finances to be able to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And just to create the life that you want, not feel not feel like you're in the box. It's freedom.
Yeah, and like exactly. And it's like that fact of like getting up and going to yoga in the mornings, or getting a coconut delivered, or you know, just being on our scooter, and you know, it's like this is so nice. Like our life here is so easy, and no, we do work. Like I work a lot, but it's not hard. Like it's not hard at all. Like me chatting to you, I'm like, oh, this is work, but it's like not. It's like, you know. Yeah. It's enjoyable, you know, and that's really where there's been a big transition. And I like, the thing is with say the feng shui, I just see incredible results. Like my clients have like the best successes ever. So it's like, that is in itself, it's like, this is amazing. Like if I can help that person achieve this, or this person's business double this month because of implementing one thing I told her, like, you know, what else is there? You know, just helping people make a difference. That feels pretty cool.
You're right. Okay, and the other thing that I noticed frequently, because I speak mostly to women entrepreneurs. That's my clientele. That's who's dear to my heart. Is that I notice that as we become more authentic in our business, as we show up as our true selves, somehow magically our business takes off, right? Like that's when real success happens. So how have you seen that in your business? Because I know you show up very authentically in your business.
Yeah. I feel like people, I like, because somebody, it was really interesting in my group. A friend of mine messaged me and she's like, I would love to meet you because you're so great with your group, and you're such, you're so good with them, and you do all. And I'm like, really, I'm just myself. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the key thing, is like, I'm just myself. And I love one of my testimonies. One of the ladies did a video testimonial like there recently for me. She was like, Patricia's just so normal. Like, she's just so normal. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know how else to be. And I think that's one of the things is like, I'm not really afraid of speaking my truth, and I'm not afraid of just being who I am and being like, I really believe in feng shui. I really trust it. I walk my talk. Like, my clients are online and I'm showing them what I mean. I'm like, well, just come and see what I have done here. Like, this is my example of what I've done. And they see me walk my talk. I'm like, I have everything in, I know I might be telling you to do this stuff, but I've done it. Yeah. So it's the more just being me. I think that's it. And the more I be me, the more people are like, oh, look at us. Look what's happening to her, the things. And that's it. It's just that spiral. It is.
You're that
the more
example.
You show up to just being yourself.
Yeah. You're the example. Just by being yourself.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, so I know there will be other female entrepreneurs watching this, and I love that thank you so much for sharing that journey, because it's always a journey. Like when I meet people, there's always a backstory. And I love that you shared that, despite your financial success in the bar and restaurant business, like it wasn't for you. It was like soul crushing, it sounded like. Yeah. So what would be, if you were talking to other women entrepreneurs who are starting out or in the first 5 years of business, let's say, because you have umpteen years of business under your belt, what lessons, what pieces of advice would you give people?
I would say just be passionate about what you want to share. Like, be passionate about what you want to share. And the lesson from, say, the course I did about the soulmate, like the love program, was very interesting, because I kind of got myself into it. I was like, do I want to talk about this forever?
Right.
And when I realized I don't want to talk about this forever, I was like, actually, no, I don't want to talk about this forever. So that was when I had to do a pivot, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to be stuck in this. Like, there's only so many things I can talk about. And I know having, and there's some coaches that will be like, I want to talk about this forever. Like, you need to want to be able to talk about it forever, basically. And like, I had books about feng shui when I was 16. I was telling my clients before I was even a feng shui consultant, like, you need to do something with your bedroom, or there's something going on with this, or there's something on with that. Like, they were getting feng shui advice from me before I even had like properly officially trained in it, because I would be tuning in and saying there's something wrong. So it's like, something you're passionate about is the most important part. And when you have that passion, it gives you the fire to be able to move forward. And people feel that. People feel that energy. And the other thing that I would say, and this is something I've done in the past, is like, watch other people and see what they're doing. Like, forget about everybody else. Like, just do your thing and what feels right. Because there's no rules. Like, when I started the singing bowl business, nobody was doing it. Like, nobody was doing it in the way I did it. And I just did it the way I thought felt right. And when you do something in a way it feels right to you, it's going to work. And like, celebrate the wins, like, celebrate the first person who comes, celebrate the six people in your program. Like, I remember being down in Hubwood and saying, like, it was a meeting that was going on. It's a kind of co-working space, and I'm like, I sold 6 places on my course, and everyone was like, yay. And it was like, that was a big deal, like, because it was like the first time we'd ever done it. And I'm like, wow, like, 6 people want this feng shui help, there's going to be more. So like, there's that persistence and passion, and just like, celebrate, and just know that when you just do it from your heart, it's not going to be wrong. Like, and the people that need you there's people waiting for your help. Like, there's people just sitting out there waiting. They're just like waiting for you to come along to help them. And once you realize that, you kind of go, okay, now I need to grow, and that part of that growing thing is scary as hell. And it can be like last year when I met you, with this huge investment in videos, and I was like, oh my god, it's thousands, like everything I have earned in the like, oh, and like, oh my god, a launch strategist. And it's like, but to grow, you have to take risks, and you have to expand, and you have to go through that energy, because like, and I go through it every time. Like every time I go through a launch, the stakes are higher. We spend more money. It's like this,
and you invest in yourself.
Scary as hell.
Yes. You invest in yourself.
But we have to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I loved is even in your feng shui business, and it's been 2 years now.
Yeah, 2 years in March, yeah.
Which is incredible. And I love that you were so honest in saying, yeah, our first course was a generic feng shui course. Like, you do what you know how to do at the time, and then you realize, then you better it. And I see so many people who are, paralyzed because they think they have to have the shiny and, everything glossy and shiny, and just start where you are, because there's always room to grow. Just start. Yeah.
Always room. And there's always room to improve. Like, so every time we do the course, we improve. Like, literally Ken is like, that's what he's working on right now, is like, how can we be better? Because every time we run the course, we get asked certain questions, and I'm like, well, obviously the training hasn't got that bit in it, or I keep repeating something. I'm like, why don't you keep repeating this? I need to get it more. So we're like getting the training videos more succinct. Where the delivery process is changing. Like, we've got another feng shui consultant coming in to answer questions in the group, because we're on different time zones to our people. Right. So it's like, how can we keep making it better and getting it more, just making it better. And that's it. It's a growing thing. It's not just like, that's the course and that's it done. It's always going to grow and evolve as we do.
That's amazing. And that's, you know what, I'm going to leave it on that, because that's my firm belief, is that our business, as we grow as people, our business grows as well. So thank you so much. You have given us so much wisdom and just the stories. It's just so great to hear these stories. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks a million for having me on. And like, if anybody wants to like connect with me about about feng shui, or about business, or about entrepreneurship, like, I am so happy to answer questions. Like,
how can people reach you? Because I'm gonna put it down at the bottom. How can people reach you?
Yeah, so people can come to patricialohan.com and they can drop me a message through there. There's like a contact form, or you can just drop me. I'm on Facebook, Patricia Lohan, or Instagram, Lohan Patricia. I do kind of track, and I'm always giving like little feng shui tips. Like, that's one of my things. I think that you see, Sarah, like, I'm just like posting little tips on my page.
Yeah, I get them all the time, and I love them.
And it's just like these little nuggets. Yeah, these little nuggets. So yeah, if you're interested in that, for sure, just connect there, or just send me an email. It's patricia@patricialohan.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions. It can be a really painful process growing a business, but one of the things that this year has changed humongously for me is like surrounding myself with some amazing entrepreneurial women. And it kind of started last year with how we met, and it's grown from that. It's just being like, get some people around you who are cheerleaders for you and can back you up.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm going to post the patricialohan.com below. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you or wants to work with you, they can get in touch with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time. Have a great day. I know you're just starting out in Bali.
I will. Just starting out now. Yes, that's perfect.
Well, it's great to see you, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.